Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, brothers in arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a monster loss that I had in the Montana, the Tier 10 American battleship. I'm divvied up with my buddies from ZR, Droko, and Rete, and we're playing some domination here on the map Okinawa. So as you can probably guess by the title of this replay, what you're going to see here is, well, a loss. However, this is my quote-unquote best loss that I've ever had in World of Warships. When you combine what I did during the game with my final post-battle results, this was one of the worst losses, if not the absolute worst that I've ever suffered in random battles. And I wanted to share this replay with you guys. Now, of course, as you're probably noticing, this is the old Okinawa. This took place about 3.5, maybe 4 weeks ago, but I really wanted to keep this gameplay around because, well, you guys deserve to see this. Excuse me. So, we're actually going to get into the combat very quickly here as this Moskva gets spotted, most likely from the Grozovoid that's moving into B, so I'm of course going to throw some shells downrange. And at 22 kilometers, we all know that the Montana has some very floaty shell arcs, but the Moskva did not turn enough, and I drop 32,000 with a double citadel and change right into the side of that Soviet heavy cruiser. So, a very good start to the game. And now, I'm going to get my spot plane pulled up here, trying to more accurately judge his course and speed as I get my next salvo going downrange. The enemy team, as they start appearing on the minimap, are going to be making a play for the A and the C caps, whereas our team is going to be making the play for the B and the C. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're watching a replay from old Okinawa or you're now playing on the new, renovated Okinawa, going BC is the absolute best play to make on this map for two big reasons. One, sometimes when your team goes to B and C and you get all nice and balled up, it's almost impossible for the enemy team to actually get you out because you have so much open water to work with that you're able to disengage as needed. And you can basically make a ring of fire, so to speak, around both the capture points where the enemy team has to push in, and somebody is inevitably going to have a broadside shot. The other reason is going up to A. Well, as you can see on both the old and the new map, there are lots of islands up there, but it's also quite a bit away from the capture points. So if you do get stranded up there, if you have, say, 3 or 4 ships to go, it's very difficult to be able to support because there's so many islands that can get in the way of shooting, and it takes you a while to be able to go around. So when you do make a play on A, the only way to do it properly is that you have to push through as fast as possible, and we'll see if that's what the enemy team does here in this game. However, they do have the C cap, and they are capturing A, so we're already down points-wise, but obviously it's nothing catastrophic yet. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking for my next shot here on the enemy Zhao, and he is doing the turn of death. So right as my spot plane goes down, I pump out my next broadside. The dispersion looks okay. The Montana with the accuracy, the American accuracy module does make it pretty good. However, unfortunately, I aimed just a little bit too shallow right there, and I only score 2 over penetrations on that Zhao. So, very fortunately for him, he gets away virtually unscathed on that. And, you know, that's a salvo that at about 15 kilometers you got to be able to make it consistently. So, a bit of a misfire on my part. And unfortunately for our team, he's going to be able to get away. Now, if you haven't noticed, our midway is already dead. And he made his way into about F4. So we're already without carrier support for the rest of this game because random battles, don't ask, I have no idea, whatever. So we're going to have to make do with not having air support for the rest of this game. And this is going to be very difficult. You're already down over 100 points. The enemy team already has 2 capture points. And now you don't have the services of your Tier 10 aircraft carrier. So if there's ever a time to ball up and try to support each other, this would be the time. Now you can see, obviously my spot plane's down, but Rete told me, hey, Snake, there's some ships coming around the headland over there, southwest of A. Try to get some shots over there. So I'm going to throw some shells over the corner of the island. Now, shooting, when you don't have the spot plane to help you out, it is kind of difficult. You kind of have to visualize where the ship is going to be. But after thousands of battles of playing World of Warships, I'm able to do that with a nice devastating strike on that Tier 10 American heavy cruiser, another double citadel and change, and that was a very spicy salvo. Now the Tirpitz that was coming around as well, he is going to go full stop because he probably just saw what happened to his buddy, and he doesn't want to be the next guy that bumbles into the guns of more than just myself coming around the corner there. So the next salvo I aim, I think, a little bit too high, but I'm still going to manage a decent chunk on that Tirpitz for about 7,000. Now you can see that our team has successfully pushed the enemy team away from the C cap, and we do have a Grozavoy sitting there on B. So we are going to be able to get that B C cap advantage that I spoke about earlier. And like I think I said it's almost foolproof, but there are occasions where, unfortunately, you just can't make do. Now, I'm going to sit here. The best shot that I have is at this Tirpitz. Another pretty good salvo for about 10,000 right there with 4 pens and 1 over penetration. You can see that a lot of the enemy team is well past 20 kilometers off to my northeast. So those ships aren't really providing the best shots at the moment. So that's why I'm just continuing to pump rounds downrange at the enemy Tirpitz. My positioning right now is pretty damn perfect, at least for if you play the BC cap game. Being in between 5 to 10 kilometers outside of the cap gives you the best chance to be able to support both of those caps well. Now, as you saw, our Musashi died over there, and the Shimakaze is going to provide a world of problems to us because now he has open ocean to deal with. You can see that there is a gearing going back to potentially spot him, but not having the carrier for the rest of this game is going to prevent that Shimakaze from being able to get spotted. So he's going to have free reign pretty much over the rest of this game, and that is not good. Now, Reite does manage to take care of the Salem, so again, we have moved the scores back a little bit. I get a great guesstimation shot on that Zhao who was speeding up, and unfortunately, I was still a little bit short once again there on that salvo. I still did 5,800 damage, but unfortunately, I did not punish that Zhao for the second time, so a bit unfortunate. But now I'm going to get my spot plane up here, and I'm going to start focusing on this enemy Conqueror. Now, this Conqueror is going to play a great game, and if you want to get a good idea of how to play a delaying action properly, this guy is going to show it. He is moving slightly away from the C cap, but he's not going at full speed, and he's going to be shooting over the shoulder at targets of opportunity. I did land over 11,000 damage on that guy, which was nice. However, you can see on the minimap, there are some torpedo planes going in at the friendly Grozavoy, and there's also a Moskva that made his way. That guy that I hit really hard earlier in the match, he's also trying to get his way around the corner as well. So I need to turn in, and I need to get over in a more central location, more towards the B cap, to try to deal with the enemy ships that'll be coming. Now, the Cossack is going to get caught out. The combined firepower of the Yasashio and the Des Moines are going to be enough to take care of that guy, which is good, because that will have the first enemy destroyer taken care of. So now there's only the Shimakaze and the Daring to deal with. So now it's 2 versus 2 in the destroyer department. I'm swinging my guns to the right side of my ship because I want to get into a position where all my guns are on the starboard side, and I'm making my way, I guess, northwest, being able to shoot at enemy ships that could potentially be coming back. Now, the Moskva does get to the very southwestern part of the A-cap, but he starts to go in reverse. My spot plane is easily able to give me vision over the top of the island, and this is a very easy shot. Even at 18 kilometers, this is a very easy shot at your high-tier battleships, and the shells fall in, and I manage to get a double Citadel as I pick up my second kill of the game on that Tier 10 Soviet heavy cruiser, and I'm up to about 126,000 points of damage. Now, unfortunately, the spot plane does go away right as I take a punt there at the Tirpitz once again. But our team is honestly in an advantage from a positional standpoint. We do have ships that are out west trying to find that Shimakaze. We also have the Zhao and the Asashio that are making a beeline push to B. And we do have a Tirpitz that, while he does look out of position at H10, is at least going to kind of make that line all the way across the G and the H line that'll be able to push that enemy team slowly to the north. Now, there are some airplanes coming in, of course, because the enemy carrier isn't an idiot and is still alive. There's some dive bombers coming in on the Zhao. Once again, I get another good guess shot here on the Zhao, at least in terms of the speed that he's moving at, but unfortunately, dispersion wasn't kind to me right there. I did knock out his turret. Now I'm in a good position, however, to provide AA support for this guy, and sure, it's a little bit. Obviously, the Montana does have good AA, but against Tier 10 planes, it's not really that impressive when you think about needing defensive fire to really shred those planes. But I'm at least able to support my buddy right here. with my long-range AA support, which is good. Now, there are torpedo bombers coming in as well, so hopefully my anti-aircraft batteries will be able to shoot down a few of those planes. I wasn't sure who he was going towards. That's why I turned in hard to the right. However, it does appear that he is now making his play on the enemy ZAL, and that guy did not have defensive fire, so he is going to eat 2 torpedoes as he goes down to about 10,000 hit points. However, the Conqueror actually has excellent positioning right now as well. He's at about 20 kilometers away, but he has all of his guns trained to his port side, and I am now at the mercy of his high explosive spam. I still need to stay close to the ZAL, however, and even get on the B-cap to help our team out here. We do have the ship lead. We've only lost 4 while the enemy team has lost 5, but I still need to stay in close proximity to my friends to try and give these guys enough AA support. And you saw right there that the ZAL took yet another torpedo, which is very unfortunate for him because it appears that he is flooding out. The enemy Daring does get spotted, however, from the Asashio, I would imagine. So I'm going to toss some shells well in front of the Daring, and he is going to speed up in front of them. And as the shells do fall in, a very nice salvo for 6,700 points of damage, as I do pick up the Confederate. However, unfortunately, the ZAL got what appears to be a widespread of torpedoes off at me, and even though it hits right along the center line at an angle, I still have a flooding get caused. So now I'm in a very bad situation, because I am going to have to burn my damage control party. And there's not only torpedoes from the Shimakaze that could be 20 kilometers coming in from the west, but I also have a Daring that's shooting at me, and then of course the biggest threat is the Conqueror, who just fired his next broadside downrange at me. And unfortunately, I can't get undetected right now because I'm a little bit too close to that carrier and his planes. You saw right there, 9 AA mounts got destroyed on that first salvo that came in at me. You can see that my center line and the stern of my ship, there's blacked out sections everywhere because of all of the AA batteries that have been knocked out for good. And that's just the power of the Conqueror. That's what it does best. I'm still detected. There's planes all around. I'm never going to be able to get undetected, but I do not want to make a right turn up here as I get closer to that island. I cannot afford to go that way because the enemy team is going to be able to make it a lot easier to get angles on me. There's obviously the Tirpitz and the ZAL that might be waiting, so I have to make this risky broadside turn here. Fortunately, I only eat 1 penetration from the Missouri, so it was a risky play, but it had to be made because going around the corner would have guaranteed my death. Now, as you probably can hear, my AA mounts have been thoroughly beaten up, so my AA is going to not really provide much to the team and for myself for the rest of the game, and the Midway continues on his killing ways as he takes out the Asashio with his dive bombers. This guy is definitely pretty good. However, the ZAL decides to commit suicide for some reason as I get another Citadel and 15,800 points of damage as I secure my 3rd kill of the game. However, there are some torpedo planes that are coming around to my port side, and unfortunately, since my AA has been so thoroughly beaten up, they are going to be able to get a couple torpedoes through, which is very unfortunate because I'm already out of heals, and I only have 54,000 hit points left. So, at this point in the game, of course, whatever damage that I do take, I'm never going to be able to get that back, as I took about 8k there on that torpedo strike. I do get a nice salvo downrange, though, at the enemy Missouri, and I do manage 3 pens and a Citadel as I pick up the high caliber. Very unfortunate that all 3 of those penetrations were non-damaging penetrations, which is something that I believe is going to be removed in a future patch here in the game because it's rather annoying. But unfortunately, my buddy Reite dies from the Shimakaze torpedoes that were launched, and now our team is in a very dire situation. We're now losing, at least on the ship count, 5-6, and of course the enemy team has had that carrier for the entirety of the game. So what we basically need to do now is Mong rush into A and see if we're going to be able to kill those ships that are now northeast of the A cap. The Tirpitz that was at H10 a while back is still pushing up in open water, and you've got to imagine that those torpedo planes are going to make quick work of him, as you can see that they are now dropping on that poor premium battleship. My next salvo, going down range at the Conqueror, I get a nice hit on the stern with 3 pens and 1 over penetration, as I get a nice hit on the Conqueror, but like I mentioned, the Tirpitz is now dead, and that carrier, I believe, is on 4 kills and a whole shitload of damage because he has been having the game of his life, but I think any decent carrier would be if they didn't have another enemy carrier to deal with. So you can see that Seattle is getting dive bombed. He is using his defensive fire, so Those planes did get scattered, which is nice, and he's just trying to get into the A-cap. And of course, I am there to try and support him as best as I can. My AA is, only throwing a few shells at those enemy planes, but everything helps. And the next dive bomber comes in, puts him down to about 5,300 points of health remaining, and he is burning, which is unfortunate. Seattle doesn't have that much longer to live, to be quite honest with you guys. The Conqueror is burning, is taking some shots from the Grozavoy, who is also being dropped on by the carrier as well. There is one torpedo plane. But my buddy in the Des Moines, Droko, is also staying down in the BC area to try and potentially hunt down the Shimakaze. Now, of course, for Des Moines, that's going to be very difficult. Not because of the ability with its radar, but just because the Shimakaze is able to control that vision game very easily, simply because there are, of course, no planes around from our friendly team. Now, he does stray a little bit too close, and you can see that he did get picked up, I would imagine, by the Des Moines radar, but he will be going undetected as he turns away and goes in full-speed flight. Now, there are some more torpedo planes coming in. I'm hoping that the Seattle's AA, which I'm sure is a little stronger than mine at the moment, will be able to shoot some of those guys down. You can also see that the enemy carrier was last spotted in B4, trudged up in that nook and cranny of the island. I do manage to get very lucky, though, and I do shoot down 2 of those airplanes, but I really can't turn right now because I'm trying to get as far north as fast as I can, so I just have to risk it here. Somehow, that torpedo that hit at the stern of my ship did not cause a flooding. I have no idea how that happened, and I'm just going to keep on pushing full speed, like I said, trying to lob some shells over the corner of the island, which is exactly what I do. Very unfortunately, the Midway does manage to nuke that Seattle for the last 7,000 of his hit points. Very, very unfortunate right there, because his AA services, of course, would have been very beneficial. The Midway does drop the bombs on me and gets a fire on the bow of my ship. So I am burning, but of course I'd be a fool to use my damage control right now. I just got to let this burn, and yeah, there's really nothing else I can do. Unfortunately, the Grozavoy dies to the Daring, so the writing is pretty much on the wall for this one, but I'm still trying to make a play. Going around the headland of this island here, the Daring is capturing the B point, so you can see that Droko is going back to try and deal with that guy. But unfortunately, there's just too many enemy DDs left, and there's not enough time. I don't have enough hit points. There's still 2 enemy battleships that are up here to try and support this carrier, who's right there at 2.2 kilometers. You can see the Conqueror is at about 5.4 in a good kiting position. Now, the carrier does get a drop off there with the 1 torpedo, and it's a good thing that I managed to shoot down that first one, because if he would have had that second torpedo bomber to drop on me, I could have died before I even made it around the corner. Inexplicably, the Conqueror shoots an entire AP salvo at me, as he only gets 1 over penetration. But before I go down, I am going to get a little bit of revenge on this enemy aircraft carrier, who has been absolutely kicking our team's butt. And, oh boy. 5 Citadels, another devastating strike, a full health Midway taken care of. My secondaries also managed to get a fire there on the Missouri on Z Proxy, but unfortunately the carrier did manage to get his next torpedo, or excuse me, his dive bomber squadron off right before he died, and he manages to kill me as he picks up the Kraken Unleashed, and it's just a flesh wound. So, with that game done, let's take a look at the post-battle results. Alrighty guys, taking a look at the post-battle results, 812,000 credits received, over 12,400 total experience earned, and over 10k free XP. I picked up Confederate, 2 devastating strikes, and high caliber, dealing 307,000 points of damage off of 98 shell hits. I shot down 20 planes, had 4 frags, 13 citadels, 2 assisted base captures, and 17 cheeky hits with the secondaries. And here is the saddest part of the game. Taking a look at the team score, 2,699 base XP in a loss. I did better than any of the ships on the enemy team. Getting over 2k base XP in a win is a fantastic performance, and I had 2,699 in a loss. This would have been, without a doubt, well over 4,000 base XP in a win. Now, just trying to think about it off the top of my head, the worst loss that I can ever think of, at least base XP-wise, prior to this one, was an 8-kill Bismarck game where I had like 2,100 base XP on hotspot. But this right here just, I mean, what else can you say? You can't get that mad about it, because at the end of the day, it is random battles, and losing your carrier that early on, like, it's It's completely ridiculous. It's completely inexplicable. So you can't really get that mad about it, but having a monster result like this, I mean, this would have easily broken my XP record for any game on my account, and this is one of the best games I've ever played, and it still ended up in a loss. There was just really nothing else that I could have done to try and win this game for our team, and, you know, if there's any finger pointing to go on to try and explain the defeat, you'd have to, you know, maybe finger point at the other 11 players on the team. Obviously, Droko had a great game at 19 base XP, and, you know, even Reite managed to kill and 5 plane shot down. So when you have these kind of just unbelievably high damage, high XP games that you still lose, you know, you can't really point the finger at yourself because, well, there's really nothing more that you could have done, and somebody else would have had to have picked up the slack. And I would definitely nominate our aircraft carrier for that one. That's just terrible. But yeah, looking at the detailed report really quickly, you know, almost 300,000 damage with the main battery. Those Montana AP shells are absolutely devastating. I took 170,000 damage, so I used all of my heals and tanked about as much as a Montana is capable of tanking, and I had another 2,100,000 potential damage as well. This was, this was unfortunate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay as much as I had playing it, I guess, because I didn't really complain about the result. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Please comment on it, what you think. Like the video, subscribe to our channel. All of the support that you guys give us is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, have a great day.